Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good afternoon. Today my group will present about finishing process. Finishing process is the process that alter the surface of manufactured part in order to achieve a particular characteristic. This finishing process split into four parts, which is we have polishing, coating, printing and painting, and the last is texture.
Okay, thank you for the co-presenter. Okay, myself, Siva Kumar, and I'm going to explain what is polishing. Okay, polishing is used to remove the damaged remain from the previous step, and then it is achieved with the step of strategy final abrasive participle. Polishing is divided into three processes, which is mechanical polishing, electro polishing, and the last is grinding and mechanical polishing. First of all, mechanical polishing. Next step, please. Okay, mechanical polishing is a way of brightening a surface, etching, refreshing without the damaging presence of mechanical polishing. A surface is a smoothing by controlling mechanical dissolvent in a bath of acid controlling actively. This is the picture of the mechanical process. Chemical part is into the metal composite. The description is function of the treatment. Physical entry is also conclude with the surface contact coverage, coating thickness, processing temperature. Also, the process characteristic is include the discredited. And then the last is economic attribute. Reflecting tooling cost is low, relative equipment is low, and then labor intensively also low. And the second thing is electropolishing. Electropolishing is the layer control the dissolver so that higher point of a rod surface are dissolved faster than the lower point. It is the final of the material surface with the smoother global attribute. And then it is offer an escape from the high cost of mechanical polishing, but the penalty of the much lower frequency. It is the figure is based on the figure. It is connected with the anode and cathode. The description is also same as the mechanical polishing, but the economic attribute is a bit different. The relative tooling is low, relative equipment is medium, and the labor intensity is low. And the last thing is grinding and mechanical polishing. Grinding is low and expensive should be used on wet and absolutely needed. And the mechanical polishing is one of the low previous in damaging and finishing surface. This is the figure of the grinding and mechanical polishing. The description is same as mechanical polishing and then tribute polishing, but the mechanical process is contained with the characteristic is chemical temperature is 6.85 with 36 degrees Celsius. Okay, next step. Next slide, please. Okay, from the polishing, I conclude the polishing is the one of the most important step in the reflective treatment as it increase the longest of the reflection. And then composite is irrelevant in the designing and polishing the proper frequency and the loss of the time and approaching safety in the patient. And it is the each and every step starting from gross recording to the fine, and finally the polishing need to be done in the correct sequence of to the opponent mechanism update. Okay, that's all from me. The next co-presenter is Aliyah going to explain what is the coating. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum. I Ainaa Fatihah Binti Yusop will present about the coating. So what is coating? Coating is a covering that applied to the surface of an object. It is usually referred to as the substrate. Purpose of applying the coating may be decorative, functional, or both of them. Coating may be applied as a liquid, gas, or a solid. The functionality of the coating may be applied to change the surface properties of the substrate, such as the adhesion, wettability, corrosion resistance, or the wear resistance. A major consideration for most coating process is that the coating is to be applied at a controlled thickness. Coating materials are applied in a thin film to provide a protection or decoration to a surface. Therefore, there are a few types of coating, which is architectural coatings, industrial EM coatings, and facial coatings. Moreover, there are also a few types of coating process which is anodizing, electrolysis plating, electroplating, vapor metallizing, hot dip coating which is galvanizing, metal flame spray, and polymer powder coatings. Firstly is anodizing. The aluminium is a reactive metal, so it does not corrode or discolor because of the coating of a thin oxide film that forms spontaneously on its surface, and this film is highly protective. The object to be anodized is made the anode of the bulb with the potential difference of few volts between it and the inert cathode. This setup causes a growth in thickness, so the thicker the film, it will give greater protection. Next is an electrolysis plating. A metal is placed in a solution containing ions of another metal. Metal ions from the solution are deposited on the catalytic surface of the component by the action of a chemical reducing agent present in a metallic solution. The salt is nickel chloride and the reducing agent is sodium hypophosphate. Once start, the reaction can continue and no theoretical limit to the thickness of the coating. Electrolysis plating is used when it is impossible or impractical to use normal electroplating, or the dimensional accuracy of the component is critical, for instance. In addition, there are also an electroplating. The component cathode and the metallizing source material anode are submerged in the aqueous electrolyte where a direct electrical current drives metal ion from the source material to the component, creating a thin metal coating. Other than that, galvanizing. Hot galvanizing is hot dipping. Hot dipping is a process for a coating metal, mainly ferrous metal with low melting points. Metal usually zinc and its alloy. The molten and metals alloy with the surface of the component forming a continuous thin coating. When the coating is zinc and the component is steel, the process is known as galvanizing. The process is very versatile and can be applied to components of any shape and size to up to 30 meter times 2 meter times 4 meter. A metal film spray also one of the type of coating process which is use a heat source to melt the coating material and a high velocity gas jet to break it into small droplets and propel them into the surface to be coated. In wire flame spraying, a continuous wire or rod is fed into an acetylene flame which melts in and disperses it into droplets 10 to hundreds micron in diameter. The molten particles strike the surface and flow into thin, flat droplets that overlap, interlock, and bond as they solidify. The multiple passes allow thick coating to be built up, and the polymer powder coating is used for applying decorative and protective finish to metallic and or conducting components. The component is subsequently heated to fuse the layer into a smooth coating in a curing oven. The result is a firm, durable coating of high quality and attractive finish. The powder is a mixture of finely ground pigment and resin that is sprayed through a negatively charged nozzle onto a surface to be coated. The process is versatile, can be mechanized or operate manually, and can build up coating as thick as 1 meter, 1 mm. Lastly is a vapor metallizing. Vapor metallizing is a process in which a thin coating of metal, usually an aluminium, is deposited from a vapor onto a component. In sputtering, argon ions are accelerated by electric field onto a metal target, ejecting metal ions onto the component surface. By introducing a reactive gas, component can be formed. Titanium sputtering in an atmosphere of nitrogen to give a hard coating of titanium nitride, for instance. That's all for me. Next, I will pass to Kuratul Ainaa for present about printing. Thank you.
So now I will present about what is a paint and what is a print. So for the painting is a technique that employ, employs a spraying device usually coupled with compressed air to air spray a workpiece with a choice of coating. Surface needs to have some texture like sanding. And printing is divided to 5 processes, which is cubic printing, hot stamping, pad printing, silk screen printing in matte decoration, IMD. So for the painting is divided to 4 types of process, which is electrophoretic and autophoretic painting. Second is organic solvent based painting. Third is water based painting, and fourth is a vitreous enameling. So for the type of printing, for the first is cubic printing. The image is printed on a thin water soluble film. When floated on water, the image floats free and can be transferred to be product to which is stick. The film and its image are float on the surface of water tank. The product is immersed in the tank. The second is a hot stamping. Hot stamping is a dry process for permanently applying a color, designing logo, text, or image. Heated metal die, which is 250 to 300 derajat Celsius, is processed against a color carrier foil and the components being printed. For the third is a pad printing. Pad printing is a little light printing with a rubber stamps. Instead the rubber, the image is cut into a steel or copper plate from which is lifted by rubber pad. The image to transfer is attached into a printing plate commonly referred to as a cliche. For the silk screen printing is silk stretch are used on frames to support hand painting stencils. So for the last is in-mile decoration IMD. IMD allows accurately registered colors, design and print to be applied to injection molded components without any secondary processing. The image, which can be full color, is printed onto a polyester and polycarbonate film in coil of a foil. So next, we will pass to Fatihah to present of type of painting.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Siti Fatihah Binti Jusoh. So I will present about type of painting. So painting consists four type, which is we have electrophoretic and autophoretic painting. Uh, Next, organic solvent based painting and water-based painting and vitreous enameling. So for the first, we have electrophoretic and autophoretic painting. Electro Electropainting is the component from the cathode in the electrolyte cell. The anode in the inert usually graphite or stainless steel. An alkaline environment builds up at the cathode, causing the lacquer to coagulate. The changed particles of pigment are dragged by the field onto the surface of the component where they form a strongly bonded film. Autophoretic painting is submerged in a bath of emulsified pigment. Ion exchange between the component and the solution causes the charged particle of paint to be attracted to the component where they merge to form a continuous film. Okay, next. Next is organic solvent-based painting. So, organic solvent-based painting is the coloring material are suspended together with the binding agent resin in a volatile organic solvent. Next, the solvent evaporates when spread thin over a surface, and the resin holds the pigment in place to form a decorative and protective coating. Next is water-based painting. Water-based or latex paint are synthetic resin and pigment that is dispersed in water by surfactants. Water-based paint are displacing those based on organic solvent because their volatile organic compound content is much lower. So for the last is vitreous enameling. A thin layer of glass powder with binder and coloring agent is applied to the object to enamel by painting. The object being enamel must be heated to the melting temperature of the glass powder. So that all from me, I pass to the next presenter.
Thank you to Siti Fatihah. Next, my name is Noor Binti Sarman. I'm gonna talk about the texture. Okay, what is texture? First, surface texture is the combination of fairly short wavelength deviation of a surface from the dominant surface. Second, surface texture may be needed in some applications to facilitate adherence to cosmetic finish such as coating, polishing, painting, and printing. Okay, there have six texture. First is flow, second is lay, third is waviness, fourth is roughness, fifth is peak, and the sixth is valley. Next. From the picture, you can see the relationship between flows, lay, waviness, and roughness. Okay, flows. Flow are random irregularities caused during the machining or production process, such as molding, drawing, and fogging. Any scratches, crack, hole, depression, seams, tear, and inclusion can be called a flaw. Some flaws relate to the surface structure. They also affect surface integrity. Based on the picture, you can see the flaws such as hole, bump, deposit, and others. Okay, next. Lay. Lay is the predominant direction or pattern of the surface structure. It is determined by the manufacturing method used to create the surface, usually by the action of cutting tool. Okay, for this picture, you can see, based on the picture, you can see, this is the example of lay symbol and a surface pattern. The first one is parallel, and second perpendicular, third is angular, and the next is circular, radian, and particular and particulate. Okay, waveness. Waveness refer to the most widely spaced surface finish deviation. Wrapping from heating and cooling, and machining flows from jitter or deflection are common sources of surface waveness. The peak to peak spacing of the wave is the waveness spacing, WSM, while the wave height are defined by the average waveness, WA, or the total waveness, WT parameter. Okay, from the picture you can see the waveness. Okay, next. Roughness. From the picture you can see this is the waveness graph. Okay, next. Okay, next is roughness. Surface roughness, often abbreviated as roughness, refer to the small, finely spaced deviation from the dominant surface determined by the material characteristic that the process that form the surface. The surface metrology roughness is frequently conceived as a high frequency, short wavelength part of a major surface. The relative roughness of the surface profile based on the single numeric parameter. The arithmetic average of surface height measured across a surface is called RA. From the picture you can see this is the RA and RQ. For the picture you can see this is the profile meter. This equipment can detect the surface roughness. Okay, that's all for me, and thank you to my group members, and see you.